Hello and welcome to the Ken 7 channel and joining me for a chat about all things Liverpool, including the Liverpool win against Brighton on Saturday, which was a great win, and then the Arsenal game coming up is none other than Goals Neil Jones. Neil, welcome, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for your time.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me again.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure, always is. So we won on Saturday. In the context of the season, it was a must win, wasn't it? And I always feel like Brighton are a bogey team for us. Whether the stats back that up, it's just one of them things I've got in my head. How were you feeling going into the game?
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, the stats. I mean, the last three games Liverpool hadn't won them prior to
Mm.
Saturday against Brighton. So obviously, it does lend itself to the fact that they caused some problems, and we all have that game at Anfield early in the season. I think in our
Yeah,
mind, and um, the unusual nature of it, really, Liverpool throwing away a lead at home and being caught out in that manner. And I did think with 12:30 kickoff and some rumours on the week that there was problems with COVID around the squad, and we'd seen a few players missing out in training. I think Van Dijk and Thiago weren't training. Canate hasn't been around, so it did lend itself to the idea that maybe there might be some hiccups. I think Brighton play some nice football. I think they've
yeah,
got some good players. I'm always a little bit wary about them because I think there's a patronising element to it sometimes when people say, "Well,
okay.
yeah, Brighton lovely," but really the reason is because they're not a threat and you're not really scared of them. And I think Guardiola's pretty good at that, isn't he? He sort of pats people on the head and says, "Oh, best team we faced all season, you guys." And what score was it? Oh, we won 4-0. But it's sort of a bit of that. But I did think. I did think, especially the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought it had the makings of a banana skin for Liverpool. They looked a little
Mm.
bit ruffled. They look a little bit short, in terms of intensity in the first 10, 15 minutes. But after that, once they got the goal, obviously it really does help matters. And in the end, I think it was a deserved win, and it probably should have been a more comfortable win as well.
We've seen that though over the last few weeks. I think Liverpool feeling their way into the game.
Yeah,
Every opponent's different, aren't they? And I think I like to think that this is the players figuring it out themselves with no help from Klopp. It's a
yeah.
collective thing. It's game management. It's football intelligence. Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I also think as well it shows that they've got a lot of confidence in what they've got on the bench as well. So maybe in the past they felt like we have to go hell for leather first hour, get the game sort of in the bag and maybe manage it from there. Whereas they feel now that even if it's 0-0, 1-1, whatever, just a narrow win, we've got three players who can come off the bench and really sort of
Yeah.
take us to another level as well.
Yeah, of course. Every podcast I seem to do now, I'm asking the person that I'm talking to about Luis Diaz. So I'm not going to break that trend because he's the guy's come in and he's absolutely phenomenal, isn't he, Neil?
He is, he is. He just I mean, there's so much to admire about the way he's come straight into the side. I mean, he was one of those players that when the links sort of appeared, and they appeared a month or so before he signed, and you look and you think, yeah, okay, I can sort of see where, but really, I wasn't. It wasn't one that sort of I went, oh yeah, Luis Diaz, Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool should be in for him. I mean, maybe you coloured a little bit. You've watched him against Liverpool a couple of times this season, and I wouldn't say he did anything particularly Liverpool-y for me. He didn't. I didn't come away from that thinking he was someone who keep an eye on for future. But Liverpool have obviously done their homework, done their scouting on him. And I mean, I wrote him a piece on Saturday. I mean, he just looks tailor made for this team. He may as well have turned up with a "You'll never walk alone" tattoo on his arm. He's that sort of. He's that in tune with what Liverpool is and what Liverpool wants, isn't it? And what the team needs and what the fans want. It was a great moment on Saturday, just sort of late on in the game where he's run the length of the pitch pretty much and won a corner right in front of the away fans, and they were he got the biggest ovation of the day really for that, just for work rate. I think it was a 92nd or 93rd minute. He's still going strong. um
There was another
got
one where he ran the end of the first half, wasn't he, and nicked the ball off Lamptey, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
which
mean, there's great moment. I mean, there's one where I mean, it was I don't know who the player was actually who Robertson was up against, but he lost a sort of battle of strength on the halfway line, and you saw Diaz just without even thinking, just ran back, got into the left back position, and saw the danger away. And so important, it's easy to sort of. It's easy for an attacking player maybe to come in and show their flicks and their tricks, and maybe get a few goals and assists and things like that. That that's what you expect from an attacking player. But from a Liverpool attacking player, you need a bit more to it. You need them to be willing to win fouls and to take contact and to to bounce back up when they get fouled. And he took an almighty whack for the cause just to get his head on a ball. I'm pretty sure he would have known there was a good chance. I think you can see when he heads it in, he thinks there's a chance he's going to get clattered, and boy did he. But brilliant, and I think it also says a lot about him. He's doing 90 minutes, and that's difficult, for an attacking player. We see Mane get taken off quite a lot. We see Jota get taken off a lot. Mo Salah went off obviously with an injury at the weekend. I think we saw him get taken off the week before against West Ham. But Diaz is getting 90 minutes when he started, and that says an awful lot about how much confidence the manager has in him to do what he needs him to do.
Physically, yeah, of course. Let's just have a chat about the goal, because it's something about. I just want a broader chat about VAR in general. I know it's been done to death, but for me, do you think it's a sending off first? Oh, hello, Neil, you there? I think I've lost Neil. He's just frozen. Just bear with us a second, guys, if you're watching this, because Neil, I've just lost Neil from the stream. I'm not sure whether he needs to come out and come back in again. Hello, Dave. Norman, good to see you, mate. If you're watching this, yeah, he's gone out, so he's probably going to come back in again. Norman, I'll have a little look through the comments. Felt Diaz was a constant threat Saturday. Must be a joy to play alongside. Always trying to make himself available. He is. He's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What an impact the guy's had. The perfect Liverpool signing. I mean, it's absolutely frightening. Sorry, Neil just messaging me back. Big one. Well, hopefully I'm going to come to that, Dave, with Neil, and just to chat through, obviously, what's going to happen Wednesday, because that's a massive game. Obviously, they played yesterday, and they won. They're in great form. 5-6 wins on the bounce. I think they've got. They're pretty good at home as well. They only fail to score in about 14% of their games at home, so it's going to be a tough one. That I don't know whether the extra day might give us a little bit of an edge. I'm not sure. The extra day recovery, I know Klopp will be made up with that. Yeah, Gremlins, Dave. I don't know. I've not seen this before. It looks like Neil's struggling with his internet, but he's just going to try and come back in now. Let's see if I can send them another invite. I don't know whether it's the same link. Yeah, it's the same link. Oh, he's just trying some stuff, so. Yeah, Norman, ability to control a long ball out the air is impressive, 100%, mate. His technical ability is absolutely fabulous. Physically, though, that's the bit that's impressed me, because you wonder, you look at him, and he used to get called Noodle because he was so thin back in the day, but he's not taking any crap off anyone, is he? He's there. He'll fight for something. If it's 50-50, he'll make sure that he wins it. He'll turn it into a 60-40. And he's right up there, ready for the rigors of our league. He's come from the Portuguese league, which you think would be very soft, and plays in South America, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And it was so nice. And I said, this is Neil back now, I think, hopefully. Hello, mate. You've got on your phone. Okay. You're doing your phone, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to have to use my phone, mate. Sorry.
No worries. Well, just can you hear me and everything, yeah?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Great. Okay, what I was going to say was just around the Diaz goal. I mean, did you think it was a sending off, first of all? And then I just wanted to have a quick chat
Yeah.
with you on your thoughts about VAR, because I feel like the referees are getting in their own way. They've made it too complex. Just say to the fella, go and have a look. The VAR guy doesn't have to make a decision. All he has to say is just go and have a look. That's all he has to say. That's all we want. You know, all this, is it clear and obvious? It's just getting too complicated for them, I think. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Firstly, I mean, it was a red card for Sanchez at the weekend. I mean, it's obvious. I can understand the referee missing it personally, because I think you follow the ball maybe, and you sort of you see an incidental clash and you think, okay, he maybe just caught, he's caught them, but you watch the replay back and it's dangerous. It's a hell of a whack he takes. Obviously, it's not an intentional one. I don't think, from the goalkeeper. I don't think he's gone to do. It's not like a Schumacher one where he's sort of he's turned his back and sort of made sure that he gets him, but he's gone for the ball recklessly and caught him. Around the sort of throat, yeah. Sort of potentially around the jaw. I think if it goes wide, I think he does get sent off. Which what sense does that make, really? In that regards, I think if Diaz has to go off, I think he gets sent off. I think if Diaz doesn't sort of come around and get back up, I think he gets sent off. I don't understand why you wouldn't say to the referee, look, you've missed that. Fine, it's not a problem. You've followed the ball, or you've looked at the goal. Go and have a look at this. What do you think? Because I mean, Mike Dean, I'm pretty sure if Mike Dean sees that on a monitor on the side, he says, yeah, I think he's got to go. There was one yesterday in the Arsenal game, handball, where they made the referee go and look at the monitor, and you're like, well, it's a referee who's telling him to go and look at the monitor. So if the referee thinks it's a handball, isn't it? You just say, look, he's handled the ball. So unsure it was, wasn't it, in the penalty area? He's handled the ball. It's a penalty. But he made him go and look at the monitor, and I think what you said there about referees getting in their own way, I think it is. I think sometimes there's a perception that we want the crowd to think that we're doing everything by the book, whereas actually, I mean, Jurgen Klopp was speaking about this. The VAR should be viewed as part of the refereeing team. So if the VAR says it's a penalty and the referee on the field says it isn't, or I didn't give it, so sorry, that is the refereeing team getting the decision right. It's not a case of the referee's being overruled, or he's having authority undermined. It's just another part of the refereeing team spotting something that he hasn't.
Yeah.
And or advising on something that he hasn't. It's like the linesman giving it. I don't think we ever look at that, do we, and say, oh, the linesman gives that, and the referee's sort of been made to look a fool by his linesman. That's what they're there for, isn't it? They're on the field to do that, and that's what the VAR is there for. So I think I hate it, to be honest. I won't lie to you. I hate VAR. I didn't like the idea of it. I don't like the execution of it, and I don't like the discussion of it, particularly in the sense of what it creates, because it's no different to what we had beforehand, except for maybe we can maybe the howler is a little less, but I don't think it's eradicated it from the game. I don't think it's got rid of the obvious mistakes that refereeing and referees assistants make.
It's helped Liverpool's game, because Liverpool now play that high line. I mean, they were playing a high line before, but they've really gone high now, because they know that to the millimetre, if it's offside, they get them offside, it's offside, and it's going to be called. So there's been that benefit certainly to us anyway. But I genuinely the problem I have with it at the moment, I quite like it as a concept, but I think they're using it wrongly. And I feel like there's certain times when the referee will go in his head, I'll leave that to VAR. And then the VAR guy at the same time is going, referee's seen it, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we don't get the benefit, obviously, of the conversations that go on between them, and I think some of the broadcasters do. I think Sky and BT get that, and TalkSport, get that benefit of, they maybe hear some of the conversations between Stockley Park and the match official, which must help in the sense of obviously putting some context around it. But for me, I look at, I take to a very base level. What drives you mad as a manager, as a player, as a fan? I think what would drive me mad would be a ball being over the line or not. Okay, we managed to fix that. Yeah, okay. I think that's worked out pretty well. I know there was one with Sheffield United and Villa, I think it was, wasn't it, where it failed once. I think the goal line technology, but generally that's fixed. Okay, that's good. Offsides, blatant offside goals. Okay, they're gone from gone from the game. As much as we don't like the sort of the lines being drawn, and we sometimes look at someone and think, what, but that basically you're never going to score a goal when you're blatantly offside anymore. Or vice versa, you're never going to have a goal disallowed when you're 3 yards onside, because that'll show you. Okay, that's good. The ones that really get me are the dangerous tackles, which I don't think there's any clarity on that yet. I think we've seen Harry Kane's one example from this season with Liverpool, where how's that not a red card offence? And then we've got Sanchez at the weekend. So that's it. That's not just about decisions of getting a red card. That's safety of players. That's players being put at risk by bad tackles, and VAR not spotting them or not deeming them card worthy or red card worthy. And then the other one is handball. And if someone whacks the ball off the line and gets away with it, then okay, that's shocking. But for me, I think football's twisted itself up in knots with handballs, with what is and what isn't. I think the couple we saw at the weekend were just about as obvious as you get in terms of Basuma, and there was one at United, wasn't there, with Tellez. But we've seen so many decisions where you look and you think, well, what do you want them to do? Why is that? The punishment doesn't seem to fit the crime sometimes. Where you think, well, yes, it's brushed his hand, or someone's clipped the ball up and it's caught his hand, but is that a penalty? Would that be given in the? I don't know. I feel like football sometimes just in its effort to please or to be perfect, I think it's tied itself up a little bit, and we're getting to the stage now where it's almost like you expect a penalty in every game. Or it feels a little bit like, it feels like there's always a penalty incident somewhere in the game, and I don't ever remember that being the case, really. I feel like penalties were relatively scarce, before VAR, and I feel like they've really come into a position where the game's being influenced an awful lot by subjective decisions.
Someone will have some stats on that somewhere, and then they'll also have some stats on correct decisions pre and post VAR, I'm guessing. I'll get you off VAR because I can see you getting annoyed.
Yes, you can.
Just before we move on to the Arsenal game, I wanted to chat to you about, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but Salah's performance, the contract situation, is agent being cryptic again, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, firstly, the contract situation, what's your understanding of it? And do you think it's affecting his performances at the moment?
No, I don't think it's affecting his performances personally. I think Salah will play the way he plays regardless. It's just how he is. It's just what he does. He wants to score goals. He wants to win games. He's unbelievably driven, as we know. You only have to read his interview. You have to look at his tweet today. He's saying it's in our hands, and he's determined to win all these medals and break all these records. We know what Mo Salah's about.
Yeah.
I don't think it is affecting his performance. I think maybe it's affecting the assessment of his performance. Maybe we're looking for things that maybe we weren't looking for prior. Maybe we're looking at, could he have passed there or whatever? But really, he's not doing anything different to what he always does, in my opinion. The situation, it's not ideal. It's not ideal because Liverpool really is in a good place as a club at the moment. Everything really is really positive. We've got a new stand going up. There's a new training ground. The manager's, happy, and team's winning. Young players are coming through. New signings have been made who are doing well. Trophy's been won. Title races on. Champions League progression. So it doesn't. You don't really want to be putting any clouds over that situation at this moment in time. And obviously Salah's contract, and to a lesser extent others as well. But that is probably the one cloud on the horizon, if you want to call it that. I don't think his agent helps matters. He could argue quite easily that I don't know what you're on about. I don't mean anything by it. I'm just putting some emojis out there. But listen, one thing that he isn't is daft, and he knows that will be interpreted in a certain way, and he does nothing to dampen that. It would only take a tweet from him saying, just to let you know, this has got nothing to do with Mo. I'm just laughing at something, or I'm just putting these eyes for something, or these dots, whatever. He's doing it. He's doing it knowing what's going to come. I think the clear situation with Salah at the moment is there's a distance between A, what he wants, and B, what Liverpool are willing to give him, or at the moment offering. I've said all along, and I still stick by it, I think there will be a compromise found. I don't think there's a price, personally. I don't think there's any price or situation which makes it worth Liverpool's while to sell him this summer. I just don't see why they would do it. I think it's the money that they would earn and the price it would take to replace his output would just be there'd be a discrepancy between that. And I don't think you'd lose anything by having Mo Salah with his contract running down, because I think he plays at the same level, he plays at the same intensity, trains the same way, looks after himself. He's obviously very durable. So I still think there will be a compromise found, but at the moment, obviously, there's a gap between it. My sort of hunch on it is the fact that Liverpool speak about it, the fact that Jurgen Klopp speaks about it. I think we had Jordan Henderson last week on Rio Ferdinand's show saying it would be nice. I think if there's an acceptance that he's going, I think Liverpool don't say these kind of things. I think Liverpool sort of ignore just straight back the issue and say, "Oh, I can't speak about that. Or it's not for me." Jurgen's basically said we want him to stay. Mo said, "I want to stay." The players have said we want him to stay. We think he's the best in the world. And I think that lends itself to the idea that he will stay in the end, albeit with some further negotiating and maybe with Mr. Abbas getting his way.
Well, as long as he gets paid, then I'm sure he'll be happy. Are you an advocate? I mean, it sounded a little bit like that you were an advocate there of maybe the theory that you just let him play out his contract and then he can go on free.
Yeah, well, I think it wouldn't be my first choice. First choice would be to give him a new contract, but I think my second choice would be to keep him till the end of his current deal. Personally, I think it's been shown recently, and it was sort of a thing that you just didn't do a few years back. It was a thing of like, once you get to a year gone, you have to sort of take your money. But I think when you get to a player like Salah, and you look at others, I mean, Mbappe's in that position, obviously Pogba's in that position at Manchester United. There'll be others as well, who don't spring to mind immediately. But Lacazette, I think, like that at Arsenal as well.
Rudiger,
yeah. The worth that you get out of them for the rest of their contract is actually worth more than the 30 million or the 50 million or whatever it is that you get for the transfer fee, because you still have to replace them. But also with Salah, the chances are not even the chances are, it is absolutely certain he's going to someone that you're going to be competing for the same honours with. Whether it's, I don't think he'll be in the Premier League, but Champions League. So you're probably going to run into him at some point, or at least there's a possibility that you run into him. So I look at it and think, well, if you get another 18 months, 15 months out of Salah, it'll be of a high level, and then he goes, and okay, you've had 15 months to plan for it. You've had 15 months to sort of work out what the team's going to look like without him. Maybe even 15 months to persuade him to stay. If that's the case, you might still have the opportunity. Liverpool did it with Wijnaldum. They could easily have sold him, a year before he left and got 20 million, 25 million. But for them, they needed him. They needed him to play for. I mean, I dread to think what would have happened if they had sold him, because the way the season turned out, and they had all the midfield was playing at centre back, and the rest were injured. They needed Wijnaldum to sort of play almost every game that season. I think there's been a bit of a shift. I think with Bosmans, if you like, that it was seen as a bad thing to lose a player on a free in the past. But I think if Liverpool are smart and do it right, they can get really good use out of them. But as I say, I think my first choice, and I think most fans' first choice, would not be to run his contract down. It would be to extend. But I certainly don't see any merit. And I think the same for Mane, to be honest. I don't think there's any merit in selling him this summer. We've got a lot to offer still. And whether they sign a new deal or not, I'd still like to see them at Liverpool next season.
Yeah. Just before we move on to the Arsenal game, mate, I'm just going to go through a few comments. James Jebson saying the execution of VAR, which needs massive improvement, which is what we were saying. Norman's there. Hello, Norman. Salah has been brilliant for Liverpool, and Liverpool have been incredible for him, and I hope he will remember that. And I think I sometimes wonder on that point, if he goes somewhere else, will he be as big a success? Because I think we've set everything up for him.
Yeah,
like Phil Coutinho, and he only has to look at Coutinho and Wijnaldum.
Torres is a good example, isn't it?
Torres as well, yeah.
I think as well. I think look, there's a couple of other things. You look at where he goes, and we can't pretend to know Mo Salah intimately, or we know everything about him. But we can make good assumptions based on what we've seen of him over the last 4 or 5 years. I think he likes to be the main man. He certainly likes to be the top goal scorer. He wants to be the penalty taker. He wanted to be the captain. He wanted to be the main man, or wants to be the main man. Where is he the main man if he leaves Liverpool? What club has Mo Salah as their main man? Probably the only one I can really think of, if he left Liverpool, would be Barcelona at this moment in time, where he would go in and he would say he's the star man of Barca. Real Madrid are probably going to sign Mbappe. Oh, I can't see a situation where Salah goes in and he's the main man over Mbappe. Mbappe's got the superstar of world football. Paris Saint-Germain have Messi and Neymar at the club at the moment. Okay, they're at a certain point of their career, but Messi and Neymar are Messi and Neymar. Manchester City's not going to go to City. Chelsea, obviously, he's not going to go to Chelsea. Certainly not now. Where else is there that he goes and gets that sort of that status that he maybe craves? And the other thing I think is at play, and I can't pretend to know this for sure, but it's an educated guess. I think there's maybe a general feeling around him just at the moment, and it might only be a temporary thing, that he maybe doesn't get the appreciation worldwide that he thinks he merits. The Ballon d'Or list, 7th in the Ballon d'Or, and obviously he didn't win AFCON, but he maybe thinks that people don't give him the kudos that his performances deserve. And maybe Liverpool's timing of trying to negotiate a new contract has coincided with this feeling that everyone's underappreciating me. I'm going to see what's over the other side of the fence for a bit, and maybe get a bit of love. But I would counter that certainly with, I don't think he'll get loved anywhere more than he gets loved at Liverpool. You only have to listen to the fans on Saturday. They were singing his name. He didn't have a great game. He got his goal, but they sung his name. They love him. You saw the Brighton fans asking for his game.
That's the point. I think we're patient with him. There's many a time when he plays a game and he looks awful. Yeah. I mean, that sounds extreme, but what I mean is he looks scruffy. He's losing the ball all the time. We're okay with that, because we know that he's going to do. If he goes to Barcelona or Real Madrid or PSG, I don't think he'll get away with that shit. I think people will be on his back, and it won't be a happy place. Yeah.
Listen, he's been to Chelsea. He's been to Chelsea as a young man and got no love whatsoever from the manager, from the team, from the fans. Sorry, he basically didn't leave a footprint at Chelsea, did he? He went and rebuilt brilliantly Fiorentina, Roma, and then Liverpool, and everything came together at Liverpool with a side that was set up, like you say, playing a certain style of football. But I think also you're absolutely spot on. Fans that wanted to worship him and want to love him. You look this week. I think we had Messi and Neymar taking a free kick yesterday for Paris Saint-Germain, getting booed. We've seen white hankies out at the Bernabeu for teams that have won European Cups and things like that. And Barcelona, we've seen the same whistles and boos and things like that. So it might not bother him. That you have to say that he might be thinking, well, I don't care. But at the same time, I think sometimes you can wish your life away a little bit, looking into the future and thinking, I want this and this and this. And I think if you asked, let's go back through a few players. Let's ask Michael Owen. Let's ask Fernando Torres. Let's ask Philip Coutinho. Let's ask Gini Wijnaldum. What would you swap now? I think they'd all take the love and the adulation of that Anfield crowd and a team that was set up to get the best out of them.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's move quickly on to the Arsenal games. I'm conscious I'm keeping you. Just a few stats. They're in good form, aren't they? They've won the last 5. They're 4th in the league. They've got 2 games in hand on Chelsea and 3 games in hand on United. And they're ahead of United by 1 point, I think. They win 71% of the games at home, so they're good at home. And they've only failed to score in 14% at home with an XG of 2.06. So with all that in mind, how do you think that the game might go on Wednesday? Do you think it's going to be as tough as those stats have just suggested?
Yeah, I think it's a tough game. I think it is a tough game for Liverpool. And I think, Arsenal, they won't ever have a better chance of getting back into the top 4 than they have at the moment. They're wild favourites, I think, to get into that top 4. I think if they win the games, and I think they go 2 behind Chelsea. So I think they're not even far off, sort of getting up towards 3rd. if they win the games in hand. Obviously, one of them being Wednesday. So they're in good form. They've got good players. Got players that are in form. You know, like Lacazette and Saka. Odegaard's playing particularly well. Obviously, Martinelli, who I know Jurgen's a big fan of. So they've got a lot to like about them, the way they're playing. That they're in, obviously, and I think what Arteta's managed to do, which, you know, I would have maybe said he might not have been able to do, is he seems to have calmed the club. So, you know, just an example, but TalkSport used to have a section called the Daily Arsenal where they used to talk about all the crisis
Totally.
Yeah, that engulf Arsenal. You know, it was always felt like there was some sort of like dissent from the fans, almost, wasn't it? There was something that they didn't like, or there was booze, or someone had said something, and Arteta seems to have calmed that and got rid of people like Aubameyang, who were obviously a bit of a problem, Ozil and people like that beforehand, who were always sort of attracting negative headlines, if you like, what it felt like they were. He seems to have got a young team that's together and really sort of is growing. But this is Liverpool. Liverpool went there for a League Cup semi-final. If you remember, I mean, Arsenal came to Anfield, played quite well, got a 0-0, and everyone sort of said, "Oh wow, you know, that could be this could be their moment." And Liverpool went to the Emirates and overcome a sort of bad 10 minutes and really bossed that game and beat them quite comfortably. They beat them comfortably in the league at Anfield earlier in the season as well. So I think Liverpool's still favourites, but, you know, I would like to see them, for example, start the game better than they did against Brighton, and just maybe take a bit of the sting out of the crowd, because I think if the Emirates does get up, and if Arsenal were to get the first goal in the game, I think it would be a long night. But, you know, we don't know about injuries yet, and Salah's one of them. Obviously, got a bit of a foot knock at the weekend. We'll see whether he's available. But you look at the squad that Liverpool have got at the moment, I would expect them to go with a very strong side and you know, have a very good chance of winning the game.
Well, I've just threw this together before while I was waiting for you to come on. And I'm not sure what you think, but I've included Salah because the injury didn't seem to be that serious, and I thought Diaz might have gone in. What do you think about that as a lineup?
Well, let's have a look. So Tsimikas, yeah, I'd be surprised. I think Tsimikas will play Forest on Sunday, so I'd probably keep Robertson in there. Curtis, I think he probably play Forest as well. I would like Thiago to play the game against Arsenal. I would like to see him in there. I think a bit of control. I think Arsenal give space, and I think there'll be room on the counter attack. And I think having Thiago in the side would be huge for that, to break the lines and get the ball moving quickly. And then the big question is, probably 4-4-3, isn't it? In the forward, like, I mean, if Salah's fit, 4-3, and Diaz. I mean, it would be hard to leave Diaz out based on Saturday, wouldn't it? But I thought Mane was really good as well.
He looks great in that central striker role. He really
does, and you know, I think he's very underappreciated sometimes in the work that he does for the team, in terms of, like I say, taking hits, winning fouls, you know, bringing down long balls and getting into, you know, keeping Liverpool sort of ticking over. I think that Jota's form, he didn't look great off the bench, but Jota scored 2 at Arsenal in each of his last 2 games. I think against them, in 2 of the last 3. He scored 2 in the league game and 2 in the League Cup as well. So he's a hard one to leave out as well, isn't he? But yeah, I would probably go, the team you put up there, I would probably have Henderson and Thiago in the midfield and Robertson at left back.
Be difficult to leave Naby out, because I think his form has been absolutely fantastic, but in an altered way to what we're used to seeing. Naby, he's doing very much a Gini Wijnaldum job almost, you know, the quiet, ugly stuff that no one really notices.
Yeah, no, he did. I thought he did well on Saturday. He, especially after the first 10 minutes, where it looked, as I say, it looked a bit moody, didn't it? With I think Fabinho was a little bit off it. I think Liverpool were just a yard short of where they needed to be. And I thought Keita was the first one really who got his foot on the ball and started, you know, finding those passes out to Trent or to Robertson or into someone's feet. So I think he's doing well. I just think, you know, I think for me, I think Liverpool want to get Thiago back into the side, and I want to see him in the side. You know, just from an aesthetic point of view, really. I think Liverpool just look a better side, and I think with Arsenal, I think a bit of someone who can just take the time and put the foot on the ball in midfield and find a pass forward quickly, I think will be one of those key things. So I would expect him to be in the side. But listen, the good thing about Liverpool at the moment is really, whatever side they put out, there's not really anything you can complain about, is there? I mean, people find ways to, but really, you're not putting a side out where you think, oh, that's not going to win. You know, you always think, yeah, I fancy it. You know, I would maybe have picked him instead of him, but I still fancy us to win.
Yeah, of course. Before I let you go, what's your score prediction?
I think it'll be both teams to score. I think 2-1, maybe Liverpool. Yeah, I think 2-1. I think Liverpool will win. I think I know I spoke to a couple of people on the weekend who were saying they were worried about both these two games coming up, Arsenal and Forest, but I think that might just be the natural sort of pessimism creeping into supporters. I still think Liverpool, wherever they go, whoever they're playing, I still fancy them. So yeah, I think they'll win both of these two games coming up. I think they might be narrow, but I think they'll win on Wednesday 2-1.
Score prediction for tonight.
City Palace, yeah. I think it's the to give the optimistic side. I think it's the best time for Liverpool, for the City to go to Palace. A Monday night game. I think Monday night to Palace is a different beast to a 3 o'clock at Palace. I think it just adds an extra flavour to the atmosphere. But I can't see City slipping up, to be honest. I think they might just win 2-0. You know, just a very classic Guardiola City sort of 80% possession, 2-0 win. But Palace are a good side. Palace give Liverpool problems, you know, especially after that first half hour. Got some good individual players with Olise and Eze and Zaha and people like that, Conor Gallagher. So I think if City don't sort of take care of business early, I think it could be a tough night for them. But I mean, natural instinct is City to win 2-0.
Cool. Okay, and just a quick one before you go. Anything on the Carvalho transfer?
No, nothing at all at the moment. No, I mean he's playing at the moment, playing really well for Fulham. Obviously, they're absolutely flying up. You know, I know they drew at the weekend, but they're absolutely flying up, virtually in the Premier League already, and he's playing, starting every game. No, nothing new on that. I think Liverpool would just. I mean, maybe it's all taken care of, maybe it isn't, but I think Liverpool were quite confident that they could get something agreed with him before the need to go to any sort of tribunal or go down that route. The hope is that having done what they needed to do on deadline day, they can just put that back. But no, I haven't heard any update on it in terms of anything being agreed or vice versa.
Brilliant. Well, Neil, thanks so much for your time, pal. Have you got anything that you're writing, any articles that you're doing at the moment that you want to talk to people about?
I mean, we've got obviously the usual pre-match and post-match pieces coming up this week, but next week is Next Gen week, obviously in the international break at goals. So that's the top 25 men, top 25 women, under 19 and under. And there'll be a couple of Liverpool players, I'm sure you can guess who, are going to feature in that list quite prominently as well. So look out for some content on that. Yeah, that's running all from Monday of next week. So yeah, that's worth checking out on Goal.
Lovely stuff. Don't forget to follow Neil on Neil Jones Goal on Twitter. And mate, thanks very much for your time. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to give us a subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. Twitter, Facebook, make sure you follow the page. Nice one, Neil. Top man.